G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here. I've got a PvP, which is going to be a very interesting one. I'm sure you can tell from the timeline here. It is going to be featuring a couple of good Protoss players. This one down the bottom left-hand side of Frost, I do not know his name, unfortunately, but, well, it's another Barcode player. Up the top left-hand side as our blue Protoss player, joined up with the TtSEED crew over at Root Gaming. TtSEED Bones is going to be our player up here. Now, Bones is, I have done quite a few replays of Bones on the channel here. If you want to see how he plays, jump onto his stream and have a look. He does stream every now and then, gets a little bit busy sometimes, but is trying to stream whenever he can. You can also say hello to him on Twitter as well, just linked in the Twitter just there on the just somewhere here. I don't know. I can't see it when I'm casting. It's something I do after. But anyway, point is generally a pretty I don't want to say passive, but a very methodical Protoss player who likes to play very safe, standard kinds of styles. Is happy to go into late game in any sort of matchup as well, and is a I would figure if you're a new Protoss player and you want to sort of you want to get used to playing really standard kind of safe styles, Bones is definitely one to watch. He has a few replay packs that have been uploaded to Team Liquid as well, so you can have a look at those, and I'm sure there will be a couple more coming out very soon. But we'll see what these guys are going to go for here. Of course, PvP has been a matchup that across Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm has changed a lot. It's been a matchup that was originally extremely boring. You had 4 gates constantly. I'm sure everyone can remember Wings of Liberty 4-gate era, where it was just constant 4 gates in every single game you would play, and it just got really, really tedious. So eventually, this particular building that houses the Warp Gate upgrade started to have Warp Gate. The Warp Gate tech was increased in the time it takes to research it, and eventually, yeah, things started to slowly change around. And I mean, it's obviously moving into Heart of the Swarm, we had a few things that changed around. We get the Oracle, we get Void Rays with their particular prismatic alignment that gives them a little bit more damage against Stalkers, which are a very common unit in this matchup. And so there's a lot more. It's a lot more dynamic, and I think it's much more interesting, especially when you get to the sort of mid to late game, where players can, instead of what we would see during Wings of Liberty, and of course during very early parts of Heart of the Swarm, was just mass Colossus wars, just straight Colossus, and you know, make 30 of them. If you can get a good concave on your opponent's Colossus, then you know, and you kill 2 more than he kills of yours, then that's game, because that's just how StarCraft 2 rolls. There's no real way to come back in some of the matchups if you lose your large force of units. So yeah, I mean, things have changed, and I think it is really cool to see Immortals and Archons making a big appearance in this particular matchup. From Bones, I do get to see Tempest quite a lot, which is really cool. I love Tempest. I think they're severely underused in every matchup. But for our red guy, we'll just go with red, or red Protoss, he's going to be getting a Twilight Council straight up here. So it looks as if we are going to have, I would guess that it's going to be DTs. Just looking at how much gas that he's got saved up, it's perfect for the Dark Shrine. There it is, bam. Down goes the Dark Shrine, and we are going to have a very sneaky ninja opening coming out of the red Protoss player here. Meanwhile, for Bones, he's opened up with a very normal sort of thing that I've seen him do quite a lot, which is the 1 Stalker, 1 Zealot, 1 Sentry, just to block off the front door there for a little bit and just keep things protected, because of course it gives you a couple of, it gives you the Zealot to tank, it gives you the Stalker to do some really nice range damage, the Sentry provides you that, of course, the Force Field if needed, and also, a little bit more damage with the Tickle Beam. So we can see that Bones is going to be picking up a Stargate and going towards the Phoenix tech. So he's gone for an interesting path here, and he is going to be scouting out with a hallucinated Oracle, which is going to be quite hilarious to see. I wonder if this is going to force out a reaction out of our red Protoss player. The Oracle comes through. Bones is going to scout out what's going on. Photon Overcharge is even activated, and wow, our red guy is going to be like, oh, seriously? Seriously? I think one of the things about that was that who flies in that direction? Who ever flies in that direction with an Oracle? Normally you come in here and then you just drop off and kill some of those probes. But now Bones is aware that there is a Dark Shrine. We can see that the Blink tech is also being picked up. So our Rip player is really going to go pretty, I would assume he's going to go pretty hard out at this attack. We've got 3 gates all prepared. The extra 2 are about to flower open. We are going to have those DTs warping in very soon. Bones has quickly done this style that he does. I really like how this is what we're talking about. A really safe, standard kind of way to play, to get out the Robo very quickly. We've got 2 gates, so we're not getting out a huge gateway force down on the ground, but we are getting all of the safety tech available. We're going to have a Phoenix or 2. We've got the Observer available as well. So these DTs, no, we didn't even warp in any DTs, so it's just kind of like a bit of a safety tech in this regard now. But he's not going to have any real chance of getting too much done. But the Blink Stalkers, of course, are very, as we said, Stalkers are a very powerful unit in this matchup. They do that extra damage to armored targets, which means, well, basically everything that a Protoss player has. And now Bones is going to be pushing forwards with some Phoenix. He's going to be losing almost loses one, but he does scout out that there are a lot of Stalkers here. And now Bones with his Immortal here is going to try and get this one out to be able to keep things alive, but the Blink Stalkers are going to be quite annoying to deal with here. Just over on the opposite side of the map, of course, the Phoenix is going to come through, look for a kill on a probe. Unfortunately, not able to get one there, but Bones is going to have out an Immortal very, very soon. So this is going to help out in deflecting this Stalker play here, but as you can see, Bones is forced to Photon Overcharge. The Stalkers are going to come through. They're going to try and see what they can do in that mineral line, but that, as you said, that Immortal just popping out in time is really going to help out with the defense. So Bones, for the moment, relatively safe. He's also got the option of heading to the Void Rays, which is, as we said, a very sort of safe way to play out a PvP, is to have your Void Rays available. They do that wonderful damage against Stalkers, so do the Immortals, and for now, Bones is really in control. Like, he's going to have such a powerful force pushing down the ramp here. As we can see, a couple of Phoenix are even going to lift up the units there, blinking back, trying to get the Stalkers out of the way. Our Red Protoss is forced to back off for now. He's not really going to get anything done. However, he has gotten his natural Nexus up and running. So he's been just sort of occupying Bones there, just sort of keeping him back, denying that expansion for a little bit longer. But now, of course, this is the part where you have to be careful. You don't want to undercommit. If your opponent decides to just one base it, or you know, do a fake sort of 2 base expansion, then you could be in trouble. You got to be very careful with these Stalkers. You got to keep an eye on exactly what is going on. And as we can see, our red guy is going to be pushing forwards, just trying to snipe out a couple of units. May want to try and grab some of those the sentries there, but no, he's forced to he has to just blink out. There is no way those Stalkers can do anything. The Void Ray far too powerful, especially when alongside those Immortals there. So we can see now that Bones has still got those Phoenix hanging about. Unfortunately, not able to get too much done with those just at the moment. The kill count is 3 to 3. The Phoenix now going to head inside. May grab 2 probes here. Yeah, just the 2, I think. I doubt he can grab a 3rd. Yeah, not enough to be able to save. To be able to kill off anymore. But now the Stalker's pushing forwards. An excellent force field there, really taking advantage of the positions here. And our Red Protoss is going to be able to snipe out one of the snipes at Pylon, then grabs the Void Ray as well. And Bones, I'm really surprised he kind of sat back here. This is very open to force fielding. If you put a force field there, all of these units have to run around the long way. And of course, as we know, Immortals very cumbersome, very slow units, and they can be if they get stuck behind, it's really unfortunate. But I mean, this is much better. Just sort of lining up the units here. Wants to take advantage of the choke point that's in this spot. And if our Red Protoss is not careful, he could get smashed apart here. The Immortals, of course, do an immediate shot. You cannot blink out of it like you can blink out of some other skills. But now he's going to be pushing inside the main. We've got Stalkers on very low health here. It's quite intriguing to see them dive inside. Photon Overcharge active. He's going to have to blink out of there if he wants to keep these guys alive. It looks like they will stay alive for just a short moment. The Phoenix 4 Bones are well, they're still looking around. They're going to be scouting through now. You can see that there's a double forge, which is really interesting. It's rare to see the double forge, especially this early on. And now, as we can see, Bones going to be losing another pylon here. Got to be careful at the front door as well. Just so much harassment coming out of our Red Protoss, and he's just trying to keep keep his opponent in check. You really, when he's behind in tech, he has to figure out a way to get back into it. So he's slowly done that. He's got the weapons upgrade coming along. Oh, sorry, he's got weapons upgrade coming along. Of course, we can see that there is going to be an armor upgrade as well. The double forge is a really interesting play, and I do like that addition there. Now, one thing that he has done, that's a bit unfortunate. Oh, there we go. All right. He was supply block for a moment, but has just fixed that up. More gateways now going down, and it looks as if we are going to move into the mid-game here. Now, Bones is still suffering the wrath of some of these stalkers just pushing in and killing off some of those workers. As we can see, 11 taken out in total. Really annoying to have to deal with these guys just off to the side here. So Bones is going to split up some of his forces. We'll see a couple of immortals push down the ramp, and they will clean out a lot of those stalkers that were there. But Bones, for his tech, he is picking up Colossus. We can see now that he's got the extended thermal lance on the way. One of those, one forge here, of course, done with +1 to weapons. In this particular matchup, you do need to get weapons first. It's much more effective, like a very efficient and effective upgrade, because a lot of the Protoss units do have double shots. And if you have upgrades on both of those shots, it means that you get a little bit more damage out. So it's a little bit more helpful in that regard. That said, of course, armor can be quite helpful as well. But I mean, it's rare to see people go for armor like first. So this double forge play is a little bit intriguing to see how this one's going to turn out for the red Protoss here. But Bones has now started to get his Colossus count up. We've got 2 out on the field. A couple of immortals are here as well, and another Colossi is just about to pop out. But things have sort of stabilized for now. Bones has protected his base, of course. Once this Nexus goes down, there's rarely ever going to be any incursions into the main base, so we will see him set up this Nexus in a moment here, and then probably get a couple of cannons down. Meanwhile, over on the opposite side of the map, the third base for the red Protoss is just about done. Not too far away, and we'll be saturating that very soon. He does have 60 workers, which is a very nice count right now. Also has the Templar Archives done, a Stargate just about to pop out, and for our red Protoss, we are using a much more, I suppose, a little bit more of a modern kind of mixture here. The Immortals and the Archons. How does this particular mixture work, you ask? Well, Immortals annihilate armored units. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure every Zerg knows that too. Versus armored, 55 damage, and this is with just +1 to weapons, so it's certainly a lot of damage. What you also have are these Archons. They tank up the front. They're very, very tough. 350 shields, and then of course the splashing bio bonus to bio damage, the 39 damage there. So what you will normally see is the Zealots will crash into the Archons. The Immortals at the back will be dealing with the Colossus, and then eventually the fight, like in this kind of matchup, it tends to go towards the person with the higher immortal count, but it can depend on how the engagement actually works out as well. Like very tactical positioning kind of stuff can come out here in PvP. So like I said before, in the old days when it was Colossus kind of stuff, it was very much based on concaves and that kind of thing. In this kind of in a little bit more of the New Age style of getting out Immortals and Archons, it's very much a similar sort of thing, but also can be dependent on the exact composition. So we can see now that that a red Protoss is actually going to be picking up the Tempest very quickly here. I like this. I personally play the Tempest very quickly because I think they're really fun in this matchup. But he's actually getting this out very, very quickly, of course, taking advantage of his economy here. 70 workers up on and running. He's got his third base. I would not be surprised to see him set up a fourth, and in fact, yeah, he's heading over to the right-hand side to set up that fourth base now. But he is going to have these Tempests out, which Tempests provide a really interesting dynamic in this matchup. Of course, they do a bonus damage to massive air. They do 80 damage, and that includes those Colossi that are out on the field for Bones. So he is automatically switching across to get some Tempests out himself. He's seen that his opponent has that kind of mixture coming out. Fleet Beacon goes down. We've got the Tempest coming out. Warp Prism is going to be on the way as well, just to provide, I would assume that's going to be for some harassment there for Bones. But what we will most likely see is a switch from Bones. We've completely stopped the Colossus production. He knows that these guys are not going to be getting anything done once the Tempests are on the field, and we'll see a switch into much more standardized kind of air composition for Bones. Would not be surprised to see another Stargate go down. Maybe we'll probably see the upgrades for air. There they are. +1 to air weapons is now on the way. And he's just going to move into that very similar mixture to what his opponent has. But looks like, wow, Hallucinated Stalker has actually found the base across to the right-hand side. It's quite funny to see that. But now this is going to get very interesting as our Red Protoss is now looking to push across 182 supply. Bones is at 158. Now keep in mind, the Tempest count does favor the Red Protoss, and Bones is madly scrambling to get a couple more of those Tempests out to augment his forces. And now, with a drop inside the natural base, it looks as if these Zealots are going to get a little bit of damage done, but a couple of Archons and some Zealots will be there to protect the base for now. But as you can see, Red has been able to establish a position here in the middle of the map, but he is forced to head back. There are just too many units here out around and sort of in these random positions for Bones, even inside the main base. Going to drop in a couple of units here, but not going to get too much done. Stalkers and DTs are going to be protecting that base for now. However, the fourth base is in a little bit of trouble. Zealots here are getting torn apart by Bones's by the Red Protoss' DTs, and that base will be safe for now. And has Bones not got a Dark Shrine? No, he doesn't. I'm a little bit surprised about that. It doesn't have the Dark Shrine, but he has had to invest into Tempest very quickly to make sure that he can catch up. And now, as you can see, a big battle is going to ensue just out here at the third base, throwing down a couple of big storms on top of a lot of the units there. Now, storms aren't necessarily the best kind of thing in PvP, unlike in Brood War, where they were a pretty big part of PvP. Because in this matchup, of course, as we said before, we've got very tanky units. The Archons, the Immortals, and the Tempests, of course. Keep in mind, these guys are pretty huge as well. 150 and 300 health. So Storms are a really good way to take advantage of clumping in particular. If your opponent, if they have a lot of Tempests or Void Rays, or even going up to Carriers possibly, if they're that daring, a lot of those units can clump up, and it can be very difficult to sort of split them up, I suppose, like you would see a Terran splitting up Marines and Marauders and that kind of stuff. So it's really good to have the addition of Storms, but don't rely on them. Don't say, I'm going to kill you because I've got 70,000 Storms. What you're going to do is you're going to slowly whittle them down. You're going to take care of shields very quickly. And that is a really important part of dealing with this kind of late game army. The Bones now, as you can see, having to deal with a couple of random threats roaming about the map here. The DT, there was a DT somewhere. I think he just got killed off. But Bones, his unit count, let's have a look at that. He's currently got 7 Tempests out on the map. We've got 3 Colossi, a couple of Stalkers, a couple of random Gateway units, a few Templar are thrown in the mix, not to mention the 3 Immortals and the 16 Zealots that are out on the ground here for our player from TtSEED. Meanwhile, for the Red Protoss, he's gone back into... It's interesting, he's gone back into a little bit more gateway-based forces here. We've got lots of Zealots, 15. We've got 4 DTs, a couple around the map protecting things. Immortals are out. We've got 6 Tempests, 6 Archons, and even a single Void Ray is now popped out for the Red Protoss. But I'm intrigued to see where he's going with this mixture, because he's added in a couple of extra ground units that may come back to bite him later on, because Bones has just said, screw that, I'm going to continue on with the Tempest production, and once this fourth base is set up, it's going to look pretty good here for Bones. The one worrisome thing is his base. I'm a little bit surprised he took this base across to the side. Now, the advantage of this base is, of course, that it's very close to reinforcements, but the disadvantage is that there's a lot of dead zone across here, where you're going to have to simply have a straight Tempest versus Tempest fight here. But looks as if the fight is going to occur just in the middle section of the map here, throwing down a Time Warp to try and slow down Bones' ground units. The Red Protoss will retreat for now. He does have to deal with a large count of those Tempests there, but now he is attacking into the third base. Is going to get a lot of damage done here. There is a single cannon and a single Tempest looking to protect this base, but I think a lot of these probes are going to be going down here. Bones is going to lose quite a lot of them there. 20, 30, it's going up. It's going up very, very high here for Bones. Now he's even got problems of those Tempests across on the fourth base as well. I think Bones is going to have to, yeah, he's really just going to have to sacrifice one of the bases there. DTs are here being extremely annoying for Bones. We've also got some Zealots that were inside the natural base that are getting some work done. There is a, as you can see, there is a, why is my mouse not working properly? There we go. We've got the Warp Prism that's getting a little bit of work done. Just moving across there. Looking to try and see if he can harass a little bit inside the main base, but Bones has been able to stabilize for now. We've got his own little bit of harassment now coming across towards the fourth base of his opponent. Getting a little bit of work done. This Nexus very, very low. Is he going to be able to kill it off? No, not enough damage coming out of Bones for the moment, but we can expect that there will be a warp in. The problem is dealing with so many of these cannons here, which is, it's going to be really hard to actually kill off these bases here. Like, we've got a really interesting wall that has come up, and that is going to be quite frustrating for him to deal with. But, sorry, just had to fix up Steam. It was doing something really weird while I was casting there, and somehow it was disrupting my mouse. That was really odd. Anyway, Bones is going to charge forwards. He's just got a couple of Stalkers. He said, screw that. I'm not going to use any Zealots here for this one. Just using a couple of Stalkers clears out the base, but he does have his own problems inside the main base. The Zealots have dropped in to say hello. The Warp Prism providing that avenue of attack. And now our Red Protoss is going to be able to cut down quite a lot of the production here for Bones. Now, Bones and the Red Protoss are both maxed out, so it's not as if he's going to have an issue right now, but what Bones will need to do is get back in here, throw down a couple of pylons. As I said, I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have an extra gate or an extra Stargate or two here, but he's going to lose quite a bit here, and as Bones is forced to come back across the map, of course his opponent looking for the avenue to attack the fourth base, but Bones is well prepared, keeps some of his units back here to cover that base, and all the while, as we can see, a few of these Stalkers are still harassing this base, and it looks as if, well, Bones is finally going to clean up some of this, but the DTs are coming in. It's DT versus DT. They cannot see each other, which is quite hilarious to think about. But these Stalkers, sorry, the DTs are going to get a lot of damage done, taking out Refinery, which doesn't really matter at this point, but they may get the Stargate and the Fleet Beacon, which is really important here. Of course, that knocks down a lot of tech, and Bones is having to resupply himself here, rebuilding some of his Stargates. Our Red Protoss, let's have a look at his mining. We've lost the natural, we've lost the main, the third is also quite, it's getting relatively low as well, so he's going to have to really look at setting up this base properly and establishing a solid defense, because if he starts to lose this base, his mining is going to come to a complete halt. And, I mean, for Bones, well, he's getting some of his tech back up. The Stargate is on the way. The Robo is also here as well. He really needs that that Observer to come out so that he can protect these bases. But there you go. You do have one just across to the side. The Warp Prism is still up the top, keep in mind. So that can drop in every now and then and bring some pain on. But Bones is also in a little bit of a difficult spot when it comes to economy as well. We've got no main, we've got no natural, well, just about no natural. And even no gateway there at the front door. I had to bust that one down because it was blocking the way. And these Immortals are going to come through. Really interesting Immortal attack coming out of the Red Protoss here. Just walks across with 5 Immortals. They do have a +3 on their weapons upgrades, +3 on shields as well. I do like that decision. He's going to charge forwards and try and take out this Nexus. It looks as if he is going to get torn down just in the nick of time, I think. Yeah, just in time. Holy moly, Bones is like, wow. I just kept that Nexus alive, 145 health, and that's very useful for Bones to keep that alive. I think he's going to be very happy with that because he does need that mining. As we said before, both players are really struggling to get their fourth bases sort of effectively mining. I mean, we do have the 4 bases, but it's been a little bit of a struggle at times. I mean, Bones has been keeping a little bit of an edge because this base has barely been harassed, but as we'll see, things are really starting to head towards this late game here. Our Red Protoss starting to protect his 5th base with a lot of cannons. We'll need to see him bringing in a little bit more extra gas here. And he's still wandering around with some Zealots, looking to get some pressure going. Another Warp Prism across to the side is getting ready to drop in and get some harassment done. Another one across to the top, but the main base is still alive. But just having a look at the mixture of units here, just as we have a little bit of a lull in the fighting for now. Our TtSEED player, Bones, has currently got 11 Archons out. We have 8 Tempests, 3 Colossi, along with just a random strew of gateway units here on the ground as well. A few Stalkers, a few Sentries, even a couple of Tempests there. Templar there as well. Even a couple of DTs out on the map, just holding various positions it seems. But Bones, I mean, at this point, he's gotten a couple of his Stargates back up and running. He's now maxed out, of course, though, so keep that in mind. He's going to probably be looking to keep this base up here to the top right-hand side. If he can get that up and running, that'll be really nice for him. We'll see where he goes from there, because this is starting to move into very late game territory of PvP, which does become a very interesting battle between positional play and also just particular movement of how you move around about the map. Now, for our Red Protoss, he's gone very, very high up in the Tempest count. We've currently got him on 17 Tempest. He's also got a couple of those Warp Prisms around about, that one Void Ray which came out earlier, one Sentry is still around on the map as well, along with 8 Archons down on the ground. So we can see now that he is sitting in a pretty reasonable spot. I mean, this kind of army does get very, very dangerous to deal with, and I mean, Bones is... he's got a lot of these Archons out. I'm not sure what we're going to do with these Colossi. I think he might want to try and look to possibly throwing those away now. I'm not sure. But another thing which I also want to mention is that we have motherships just about to pop out here. Bones has already got his, as we can see here for the Red Protoss. This is just warping in now. It's a very rare animation that we rarely ever get to see. But the mothership, of course, going to provide the cloaking. Where is Bones' mothership? Oh, there it is. Alright, cool. We found it. So this provides not only the cloaking, but also gives you, of course, your time warp and your recall, but also it does a decent amount of damage. 6 attacks of 8 damage. Pretty damn good. It's a little bit slow, but I mean, it adds in a little bit of firepower. You know, while you're not going to say, well, I'm going to win a game because of the mothership damage, it's at least something. It's more than obviously a normal mothership will do. So I do like the decision by both of these guys to add this in. Another really nice thing that I can see here from our Red Protoss is adding in an Oracle. What's the Oracle for, you ask? Well, Tempest can actually shoot farther than they can see. So what you want to do, you want to use this Oracle. Drop down a Revelation on top of your opponent's units, and then you can actually see them wherever he goes, and your Tempest can possibly get good range on where the opponent is. So you can actually see them and shoot them down quicker. Now, as you can see, the Revelation did get off, but of course, because the cloaked units weren't visible at the time, he doesn't actually get to see them. So he's only got vision of the mothership there. Now, I think this could turn into a very big battle here. I would like to see some splitting here from our Red Protoss. There you go, splits the units up, wants to try and set up a nice concave here with the Tempest, wants to be firing down from all angles to make sure that he can maximize the damage output that he has. Bones, meanwhile, of course, because he does have a very much heavier ground composition, he's going to probably look to just charge in those Archons, and there it is, going to throw away the Colossi. We don't need these guys anymore. They are basically just I guess cannon fodder at this point. They just don't do enough, and well, we can... Is this a 38-minute cannon rush coming out of the Red Protoss? He's decided it is time for a cannon rush at the top of Bones' 5th base, and I mean, that's a lot of cannons, and they are going to pop up. I'm not sure if they're going to be completely successful. Well, looks like they are. He is going to get them down, and I mean, this is going to be really annoying. Because now for Bones, the decision becomes, how do I deal with that? Do I want to try and get some units across here and try and just march up the ramp and deal with them on the ground, or do I send across a couple of Tempests and try and deal with them? It's a really intriguing spot to just go mass cannons there. I like the idea. It's pretty cool. But Bones is now going to kill off his opponent's 6 Nexus down at the bottom right-hand side here. That War Prism doing a wonderful job there. There is a single DT that is protecting the base, but unfortunately wasn't quick enough to knock out that Zealot there. Production tab showing it's nothing, so we'll keep an eye on the units tab for now until I see a big battle occur, and we'll get back into the production tab. But, well, the cannons, they're denying a little bit of gas, but they're not doing too much else, I don't think. But as you can see, Bones is coming across with a couple of his leftover Immortals here. Needs to approach on a much thinner angle, so we'll see him probably come in this direction to try and attack the cannons. You don't want to have this whole front face of cannons attacking everything, or unless maybe you do. He just decides to pulverize through. He's going to target down the pylons that are there as well. Gets one, and should get that second, and there it is. Down goes one of the Immortals, but the rest of the cannons are going to be killed off now. So it's the 38-minute cannon rush has now been deflected by Bones. Good cheese defense there from Bones, but he's still down on bases at the moment. We've currently got Bones mining, effectively mining off 2 bases. His opponent is effectively mining off, well, almost 3 at this point. Now, at this point, having a huge bank is a real key. it allows you to resupply very quickly, allows you to finish off upgrades. As we can see here, we've got +3 on the air armor on the way. That's just about to, well, it's around about halfway now, but that's going to add in a nice amount of extra armor there for the red Protoss. Of course, for Bones, he's a little bit behind in this regard, just researching +2 on armor right now. Does have the 3 on shields and weapons. His ground units are currently sitting on, as you can see, he's on, yeah, the same sort of thing, 133 for his ground units. So Bones is he's just a tiny bit behind in the upgrades. It's not going to matter a huge amount because I highly doubt we're going to see a battle. As I said, Bones likes to play a reasonably passive kind of style here, and you know, this kind of situation I think is his bread and butter. Moving into late game, finding out the correct positional kind of play to take advantage of. And it looks as if he is going to set up his 6th base here. We'll probably see a myriad of cannons up here at this base, and sometimes people actually wall off a base like this. I personally feel like it's a really good idea, just because it protects the base a little bit easier, and then, you know, as you move into late game, most of PvP becomes, the majority of it is an air battle, at least for the main sort of fight. So you know, you don't exactly need a ground path. Once the probes are inside, it's all good to go. So I don't know, but as you can see, lots of cannons are being thrown down here by the red Protoss player. Bones is now catching up, grabbing a Templar Archives. He lost the original one he had inside the main base. I think it was over here or something like that. But he's going to grab a few extra Templar. I'm not sure if these are going to be Archons, are they? Looks like maybe yes, maybe no. Oh, we got 6 Templar here, so I think, yeah, he's just going to keep them around. So as I said, clumping is pretty decent to take advantage of with Storm. If you can get a couple of Storms off on some of these the Tempest and try and move it to your advantage in this big fight, then that can certainly help you out. But both these guys is really playing a passive kind of game at the moment. I would expect that Bones is going to move down towards taking this base in just a second, but our red Protoss is now moving up. He's got a lot of forces here. The angle is a little bit better for Bones. He's got a little bit of a better shot onto this small clump of units that are here, and he does take advantage, takes out the mothership, and I would expect, yeah, that the red player is going to now move back. It's not a huge disadvantage to not have the cloak, but I mean, if you can, you know, if you have it for a second, at least it's quite helpful. Of course, if, you know, Bones has got 3 observers in his composition here, so it's not as if he's not going to see him. But I mean, you know, it can add if perhaps a split second of a unit being in cloak can add some damage or some defense to a fight, then that's really going to help you out. So Bones now adding in his own Oracle for that Revelation Vision that we mentioned before, so we'll see him probably move forward with this and try and throw it down on his opponent's units before he begins any fights or anything like that. But Bones still sitting on an interesting composition at the moment. We've got a majority ground-based setup here from him. Actually, I suppose now it's flicked around the other way. It's actually gone up to 18 Tempest, and we do have a fight here. Oh, what is going on with my mouse? It's really weird. We have got 18 Tempest out for Bones, 12 Archons, a couple of DTs still around about the map, that 1 Oracle. His mothership is still here, providing the cloak, providing that extra little bit of damage as well. Meanwhile, for his opponent, 19 Tempest, 7 Archons down on the ground, no Templar. Interestingly, let's keep that in mind. Lots of Zealots are out. They're going to try and do some harassment here up at the top base, but how far are they going to get? There's a lot of cannons here for Bones, and he does protect the base for the most part. But we do get another big battle in the middle of the map here. Storms are now going down on top of the Tempest and on top of the Archons as well, getting a lot of damage done. Bones off to the side here with his Tempest is going to get a lot of damage there. And now with the Revelation Vision, he has got a lot of control in this fight. His Tempest count up at 17. Our red Protoss is now starting to fall. Stalkers are coming across and helping out, of course. They do not have Blink, but they do get across there, and they do help out. Bones really establishing himself here in the middle section of the map and this part of the late game, because while all this is going on, Zealots are going to do a nice amount of damage, but these DTs and the cannons should be able to hold this base together. I would not see this base going down at all, just because of how many DTs are here, and Bones can just easily resupply with those probes there as well, while now pushing forwards. He has a lot of Tempests that are now on their way across, and for our red Protoss, what is he? Is he not rebuilding? What? Okay, we got some Archons now warping in, but I don't know, where is his... We still only have 2 Stargates here for both of these players. I'm a little bit 4, sorry. We've got 4 Stargates for both of these players. But now Bones is in a little bit of trouble. The Red Protoss is in a little bit of trouble with all of these Tempers pushing forwards. This is what I'm talking about before. Once you lose a big battle like that, it puts you into a very, very awkward spot, because it means that you either have to say, well, I've got to resupply on the very cheap units, the very easy and cheap to create units here, like the Zealots and ground-based stuff like Archons and of course those Stalkers as well. Bones, that is really nice. I like that. Walls off the probes there. It's not going to last too long, so the Zealots will bust their way inside. But all the while, as we can see, Bones pushing forward is going to be able to take out a lot of the gateways and a lot of the tech that's here for the Red Protoss. He's trying to rebuild back across the map. We've got a lot of gateways out for him across on the right-hand side of the map, and he's going to resupply. Wow, and a lot of Archons. Just look at that. We've got 17 Archons out for him at the moment. Lots of cannons defending this base, but I mean, that's not going to help out when Tempests come to town. Speaking of which, 17 Tempests out for Bones at the moment. We've got 4 Archons for him, a couple of Templar on the ground. The Stalker's also just helping out with a little bit of damage here and there. But the main, obviously the main story here is that fight where the Tempest got into position, Revelation was laid down, a few Storms were laid down on top of the Archons and the Tempest there, and Bones was able to take that fight. So as you can see, Zealot's going to charge inside. This is one thing which puts a lot of players in quite a trap when you move into late game. You sort of say, I'd better just try and resupply on a lot of Zealots, and it happens in other matchups too. Sometimes it happens in PvT as well. But I mean, these Zealots, their efficiency, it really goes down when you get to this sort of part of the game here. I mean, Bones has been able to, he's lost quite a few of these probes here, but I mean, eventually he's going to keep this base alive. But in fact, as I say that, lots of Zealots are going to come through. They're going to get a little bit of damage done. Bones going to evacuate those probes. Has he got? No, he doesn't. I'm a little bit surprised he doesn't have a bigger cannon wall at that base. But as you can see, Tempests are on their way back. No mothership core to provide a recall or anything like that. In fact, where is the... Bones he hasn't rebuilt his mothership core. I think he's just been a little bit busy dealing with all of these various Zealot attacks across the map, and is now moving most of his forces back. Need to deal with this pylon to get rid of that resupply. But for our red player, he's now lost, he's basically mining off of, what, two and a bit bases. This, what is now the main base, is now being depleted effectively. We're about to, the gas isn't too far away from dying out there as well. He's got a little bit of his tech up and running, but I mean, it's going to be very hard for him to deal with a very heavy air presence from Bones. So many Tempests, and of course, the extra units that are down on the ground as well for Bones. Now, Bones, he doesn't have a huge bank. He's sitting there on 300 minerals right now, but with this army, if we had the army graph, it would show us that Bones is very, very, very heavily invested there. 138 army supply for him, and now he's going to push forwards. He's going to take out that base, and I think that the end is nigh. Despite having 9 million Archons right now, that's the most cotton balls I have ever seen. Because yeah, wow, that's so many Archons. How many is that? That's 23 Archons. How often do you get to see 23 Archons? But it looks as if Bones has been, he's had a look in the middle of the map. He knows his opponent has a huge, huge count of Archons right now. So it's not as if it's a huge worry for Bones. He just needs to be careful of this kind of stuff, this clumping up. If lo and behold, if the Archons actually get like a kind of like a surround, I guess, on the Tempests, and they're clumped together like that, they will get annihilated. But as you can see, Bones is moving into position to try and deal with those Archons. Keep in mind that the Tempests don't do huge amounts of damage. It's only 39 damage, which is a lot, but I mean, when you've got Archons that have 3-3 on their armor and shields, and they've got their 350 shields all ready to go, it's they do take a little while to die. So there could be an interesting fight coming up if Bones is able to position himself nicely. We would like to see a spread of these Tempests to make sure they do not get easily targeted down or anything like that. But he is now resetting this base up to the top right-hand side. Needs to get that mining. Would also like to see this other base down here as well, now that he does have the ability to protect it. But he's a little bit worried now, as we can see. the red Protoss, the King of Archons. We're going to call him King of Archons because now he's done that, and that's a better name than Red Guy. King of Archons now going to push across, and he's going to take out this base. The Templar Archive is going to fall down, 4 bones as well. There is a small attack coming in, a couple of DTs and a couple of Zealots here for bones are going to get some work done, taking out probes. Total probe kill count in this game currently sitting at what's that, 127, oh sorry, 117. And of course Bones has had the brunt of that. He's suffered a lot of attacks across at his various bases, but has been able to slowly stabilize. He's currently sitting at 29 workers right now, keep in mind, so he weirdly is not in the worker lead right now. But as you can see, King of Archons has to resupply his probes here at the, I don't know, what's that? That's like the 4th base, but technically it's like the 7th base or something like that. But this is going to, as I said, it's going to be hard for him to properly engage this army. Both players are just sort of saying, I'm just going to let you choose where you want to fight, and then I'll try and take advantage of it. Because, you know, as I said, you can't underestimate the Archons, but also these Stalkers are going to add in a little bit here. They do have blink, so they can blink underneath the Templar. What you'll see is something very similar to how a Protoss used to deal with Broodlords. Blinking underneath them, trying to snipe them down really quickly, and I think that's what we may see out of King of Archons. But he's found, what the, is that? That's that Warp Prism that was up the top left-hand side is still alive. I'm very surprised about that. But as you can see, Bones now pushing forwards. He's got a great position here to attack into this space. Of course, we mentioned the dead air around this position here. So he's just going to, wow, he's just, yeah, going to rip through this base. We may even look at a interesting base race coming out of these players here. Probes evacuating, trying to get out of there. Bones looking for a couple of storms, but is not able to get it done. A Templar, the Archons over here for King of Archons is going to be... this is a hilarious part of the Archons, is that they're very cumbersome and they sort of have a little bit of trouble moving about. But Bones is on his way back. I would love to see a Mothership Core out here for a recall. Oh, in fact, there it is. So he has the Mothership Core and it has full energy, can do a recall, but there's no real nexus around to recall to, apart from like this one here, maybe. You know, it'd be cool? A nexus here, just so you can walk back into the middle of the map. That'd be awesome. Speaking of which, heading back home is the King of Archons. He's going to have to kill some of these pylons to be able to get these guys out of there, because they're all in the way. Takes down the pylons that were in the way, and is now going to head back up. I mean, yeah, this is like the weird part of PvP where it's kind of, you know, who wants to engage first, because if, like I said, if Bones, if these Tempests get caught out like in a very open space such as this, they could go down. You know, you can't, as I said, you can't you know, underestimate. That's the word. God, I was looking for the wrong word there. I was going to say misunderstand. You can't underestimate the Archons and the Stalkers. Of course, when there are a few Void Wraiths thrown in, it gets a little bit even more interesting. The Chandeliers of the Sky are going to be roaming about with this Archon Stalker force. For Bones, of course, you know, he's just got such power in these Tempests. They do, you know, a reasonable amount of ground damage there, 39. Not to mention their range is key. If Bones can just sort of position himself just around here to try and take down some of these units that are across on this side, then he can certainly put himself in a pretty decent position. But again, he's going to come across this base and try and take it out. Down it goes. A few more ground units added in for Bones right now as he has built up his bank. We got 2,000 minerals available for him. Now, as we can see, we are going to have a bit of an engagement here. Void Rays at the front, not sure about that. We got to get those Archons tanking at the front is what we want to see from Bones. It looks as if Bones is going to have to retreat back into a little bit of a choke point here. A wonderful decision there from Bones. He's just going to try and say, yep, come in here. I dare you to. And then he'll just try and smash down those units as they enter that position. So, King of Archons, well, he's in a bit of a strugglesome position right now. Bones going to reset he's going to set up a base here at the top right hand side natural, but this is kind of weird. This is kind of weird. So many Archons, so many Tempests, so many probe kills across the map. We've now gone up to a huge total of probe kills out there. But 126, one less than the last time I tried to calculate it quickly in my head. But now this could be the final battle as King of Archons is looking to push inside. I think he's going to have a difficult time. His positioning is going to be very difficult for him to work with. Just all of these units out here. Now, Bones just annihilating a lot of these units from afar. The Void Rays are not really doing what you would really want them to. You'd want them to be trying to target down the Tempest, but there is just not enough. Stalker's now coming in from the backside here for King of Archons, and he is going to lose quite a few of those down at the back. The Tempest are staying alive this entire time. Bones with, well, a much more superior air army is eventually going to have the last laugh, and I think that will be it. A G from our Korean Protoss player here. We're calling him King of Archons just because I can. And really intriguing game there. Just a little bit of interesting insight on late game PvP, which is rarely ever seen. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go and share the game. Drop it on your Twitter or on your Facebook or whatever. Speaking of Facebook, hop on to facebook.com/stockville.casting. And you can catch all info and cool stuff, key giveaways, all sorts of game key giveaways there, as well as all sorts of information. Thanks you for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more